Alright, sophomores, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your spring break. I'm sure it was completely different from what you were doing the 3 weeks beforehand and what you're going to be doing in the next 5, 6, 7 weeks or, months. Alright, so we are on week 32, which is the second half of World War II. So, hopefully you checked and read through and did your Holocaust work so you have an intimate knowledge of just how awful it was. Now we're going to focus on the more combat aspects. This is the part that everyone likes with all the explosions. So, a couple things. You'll notice there's some links in here including 2 maps. Now, this first map, the one that is labeled animated map, you'll notice it's not animated here. This one, unfortunately, you do have to download as a PowerPoint. It cannot be converted into Google Slides. It causes a malfunction with all the background data. So if you want to check this out, it goes step by step, covering the whole process of the war, from the beginning of the German invasions all the way through the victory of the Allies. So you download it as a PowerPoint, open it up, watch it through that system, and it gives you a very detailed process. Normally, I would go over it with you guys, explaining step by step, adding in details and little anecdotes and stories, but time constraints being what they are, and the situation being what it is, this is something for you to go ahead and go through. Now, the second map is simply visual reference of the World War II campaign in the Pacific, with this week starting in 1941, the United States is going to enter the war, and this gives you a relatively rough idea of what the fighting looked like, what the theater, which is the area in which a campaign is fought in, looked like. Alright. Please note, guys, that it's going to be 20 points. There are only 4 things I'm assigning you. Please keep in mind it's all pure extra credit. So, note number 1, you should be watching this first, but related to that, guys, if you click on the link for this video, and you then click on the channel itself, I've now added a playlist, and I will be adding a short 3 to 5, 6 minute video each weekday. This is partly out of boredom and partly out of the fact that it just feels weird not to be having conversations every day, and I've been thinking about it before spring break. So I will be doing it for the foreseeable future. I will have all kinds of recommendations for articles for my econ kids, for you guys, my history kids. Excuse me. The recommendations will be both academic and ways for you to stay informed of the situation in the United States, both health and economic-wise. And some stuff is just going to be how to keep yourselves and your family entertained. On Monday the 13th, same day I'm recording this video, I did include some information about how to go to the IRS website and find out if your family is going to qualify for the stimulus checks, which is one-time payments that you don't have to pay back of cash in order to help households deal with their financial situation. Alright, so the digital answer sheet, just like before, guys, enter all the answers here. Please, there are 4 things. You have vocab with the accompanying contextual questions. You have the United States enters World War II, so you'll use the PDF handout that's literally labeled handout. The U.S. enters World War II. You notice here, it's a very short read. Okay, it's only 7 questions, 2, 2, and 3, and pretty easy read, all being equal. Now, there is a second part, which is that I would like you to please find and copy-paste a map of the World War II Pacific Theater, but find one that's different from the one I've provided you. Don't just use this one. Find another one. See if you can find one that shows different information or is maybe structured slightly differently. Okay, from there, we have the meat of it. Now, the fact that there's only 4 things this week has a very specific reason for it, and it's that this assignment right here, Major Battles of World War II, normally were we to do it in class, is something I would spend 2 days easy on, because this is where I spend a lot of time talking about the conditions. It's shorter than with World War I, where we really went into detail. but this is still where I get into the real nitty-gritty about what it was like to be a soldier or a civilian and what they'd experience. So with this one, more complex instructions. You're going to use the reading, Major Battles of World War II, which is this one right here. You'll notice that the order is slightly different than it is on the answer sheet. I apologize for that, but I am not fixing it at this point. You can just skip and bounce around a little bit. So, use the readings. That will give you all the information you need, and you'll notice these are all about one page. A couple are actually a little shorter than a page, or they have big old text. And you're going to use them, just get that out of the way, to answer questions, including what's the date or dates, because most of these take place over several days, if not several weeks or months. The location, roughly where did the fighting occur in the United States? So for instance, Pearl Harbor, well, Pearl Harbor is a harbor in Hawaii. So date, December 7th, 1940. Location, okay, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Nations, Japan attacks U.S. Something like that is all that I need you to do. Then describe the battle in 1 to 2 sentences. So now I'm giving you Pearl Harbor because this is honestly the one you should already know. Some of you may have even seen that terrible Michael Bay movie. Seriously, it's terrible. Don't watch it. So give me a description of the battle. In this case, it would be Japan launches a surprise bomber and fighter plane attack on U.S. naval base Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. There, done. One sentence, perfect. Now, the result, why does this matter? So for Pearl Harbor, for instance, I would say the result is U.S. fleet is damaged, although notably, as it will say in the reading, the U.S. fleet was not actually damaged as badly as the Japanese had hoped. But more importantly, why does it matter? United States enters World War II. This is the beginning of the end of the war. Once the U.S. goes into total war mode, it's going to be a steady series of defeats for both the Japanese and the Nazis. This is where the Japanese, one of the admirals, not Tojo, but Togo, famously, yeah, I know, different person, famously says, I fear that we have awoken the sleeping giant. I apologize for the squeaky sound. That was my son demanding that I fast forward a commercial. So, once you've taken care of that, okay, again, you only need the reading. Now, please note this extra set of instructions. You may also want to watch the label videos from the World War II Combat Links handout for visuals and more details, but it's not necessary. So, this is a page here, and I will verify that all the videos are set and approved so that you guys can watch them while logged into your accounts. I know sometimes that's an issue, just because of the way the district does stuff. I will go back and make sure all of these are set and approved so that you can all watch them on your own. And what these do is these are all various videos. Some of them are history videos, some of them are clips from movies, some of them are 20-minute documentaries of battles. A couple of these are clips from, in fact, 2 of these are clips from video games. You'll notice this COD for Call of Duty. And what all of these do is they give you some nice visual explanations or visual details about what these battles would have looked like or how they progressed, what it might have been like for, say, being a soldier there. So, for instance, with Stalingrad, I actually have 4 videos, or 3 videos and a link. I have a video on a documentary on the Battle of Stalingrad, also known as the Siege of Stalingrad. Then I have 2 clips from a very excellent World War II movie, and I'll provide you guys a list of World War II movies to watch next week, called Enemy at the Gates, that does a fantastic visual job of recreating the battle. And then lastly, I have a link to the real-life person who inspired the fictional character from that movie, a fellow named Vasily Zatyev, who was the second most prolific and successful sniper of the war. The most successful is another fellow that I will get to next week, whose nickname was, delightfully, the White Death. And then, of course, we have a few others. Now, you don't have to watch them, but usually if we were in class, we would be watching this as we go over because each one adds to another layer of understanding about how World War II was fought. Why it was so destructive. Why, even as bad as World War I was, World War II was worse. And lastly, I have a specific series of videos for you guys to watch. This is a series called Hunting the Bismarck. The Bismarck was a ship in the Nazi German fleet, the Kriegsmarine. So this is the story in 4 parts. Each video is about 7 to 9 minutes long, so this whole thing's a half hour or so. And it is the story in totality of the British attempting to hunt down and destroy one of the largest ships in the German army. You'll notice question number 2 here on the first video kind of sums up why I like this story. Besides, it should say being the largest ship. See? Fixed. What did the Bismarck represent to the Germans? And that's really a key part of this, is the Bismarck is not just the hunt for a massive battleship. It's also about the symbolic nature of the war. And a lot of decisions that were made in the war were not just for tactical reasons or strategic victory, but rather because of symbolic necessity for keeping up morale or destroying the enemy's morale. You'll find that in the Battle of Britain description as well. Okay, so that takes us through the 4 assignments. If you have any questions, guys, please keep in mind that my office hours are going to be 9 to 10. I will have an open Google Meet. The link will be updated and refreshed back up to the top on both Thursday and Friday. I will be available. Otherwise, you can always email me, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. See you later.